Let's talk some artificial intelligence. Welcome back to another week's episode of the Founders Bar podcast, where every single week we're going to get ourselves a drink. So this week I'm drinking a Corona. Not sure what you're drinking this afternoon, but I hope you've had a productive week. I hope you've had a successful week. Unfortunately, Kylie cannot make it in this week's podcast. We are actually travelling to Mallorca tomorrow. So there's lots of packing being done, family, all getting ready for tomorrow. And therefore, just having a conversation with you again here. And I thought we would touch on artificial intelligence this week because as a founder, as somebody that's in business, I believe that artificial intelligence is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most important, disruptive technologies that we are likely to experience in our lifetime. Let's just give a little bit of a context, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, let me know what your thoughts are. In particular, how it's impacting your business, what you are doing, how you're using artificial intelligence. I'd be very, very interested to know. But let's give some kind of background to this first. So I always look at history. I'm a big student of history. I believe in studying, looking back over time, what has the world at a macro level, what have we experienced? And when you look at the major shifts, the transitions that we've gone through, that's impacted the way that the world operates. You think of, 100 years plus ago, the Industrial Revolution. That changed everything. Then when you think the birth of the internet, all of a sudden people were able to connect around the world. They were able to commerce around the world. They was able to buy things. And it was so confusing to people at the time. There's actually a video which you can search. It's like, what is internet anyway? And it's like a talk show back in the early 90s, I think. And it was pretty much saying like, what is the internet anyway? Because people didn't know what it was. And, why would you put your credit card into the internet? There was so much kind of uncertainty, but now it's just the way that we live our life, right? We wouldn't be able to operate without it. Then you went into social media, the birth of Facebook, and then Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube, and right, we're able to then socialize together, connect with friends and family, and do business, create communities, have an impact, right? Put your service, your product out into the world. Again, complete shift. And now we've got artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is then going to lead to robotics. Okay, so we'll not talk robotics in this video, in this podcast. We're going to talk about robotics maybe in a future one. But to begin with, from an AI perspective, here's my overarching thoughts. When ChatGPT was launched in 2022, something like that, introducing ChatGPT from OpenAI, it completely changed the way that businesses and people, it had a massive impact on everyday people. We could now speak to intelligence. It had so much more information than we could ever just sort of do a Google search for. You could ask for anything and it would be able to answer you. There's another conversation on accuracy and hallucinations and things of this nature, but in general, it was like, oh my God, like you can now speak to AI and it would speak back. It would give you advice. It would learn about you. It would remember. It would give historical context of what it knows about you. It would just speak with you and it will answer any question. And now people are using ChatGPT as like a friend, somebody that they can speak to, get their thoughts out, their emotions out, get advice if they're going through hard times. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing from that perspective. That then had the rise of so many AI tools, right? The .ai became the norm. .dev, and what that essentially did is now people are using artificial tools, right? Tools for copywriting, social media marketing, to sales, to customer support, to helping with finances, to you name it. It's a horizontal enabling layer where tools were now able to help everybody, me, you, across our lives and business. Then over the last sort of 18 months to 24 months, we then went to the next level, which was AI agents, right? Agents that could now take action, operators. You could give AI an instruction, it would now do something, right? It would actually build something, not just give information back. It would actually now do something. And that is profound, because you could give it one prompt, one instruction, and it would then start taking action. Now, prompt engineering then became a thing as well, because how detailed those prompts are, how vague those prompts are, you can have different outputs depending on how detailed you are with those. But what that did, it unlocked the next level. And what is actually happening is AI and artificial intelligence is unlocking next versions and evolutions of itself. But here's one of the interesting things, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about what we're doing in our business in the current, and what I'd kind of recommend, especially from a founder's point of view. If you're starting a business today, there's some thoughts I've got there. Artificial tools are now everywhere. You can get AI tools for pretty much so many different things. But what I've definitely experienced, and this is kind of like the cutting edge of my understanding, is AI tools, or AT if you like, artificial tools, have given a big advantage to the front runners, right? Those that are using AI tools, those that are using AI agents, those that are workflows, automating workflows. The problem with that is everything is fragmented, right? So you might have a workflow with this, some form of marketing, a workflow with that, some form of customer support, a workflow with that, some form of finances, and everything's kind of fragmented. You might be using a tool here and a tool there. You might be switching from ChatGPT here to using whatever other tool that you might be using. I believe we're now going into the era of the actual intelligence, right? We've been at AT, which is artificial tools, and now we're at actually AI. And what that means is more and more people, and I've already seen the benefits of what we are doing, and that is building a hierarchy of intelligence. That is having the first layer of intelligence, which is your operational intelligence layer. That is all signals coming in from your business, from APIs, data, human impact, human contribution, comms of your teams, your SOPs, everything is coming into a centralized place. From that centralized place, you can then trigger or create rules and guidelines of how that AI can give you signals, events of what actually matters and what's important today. That then allows you to be smarter, actually be intelligent. Of 10,000 things that are coming into your business, which is grabbing your attention, or you might miss some things, or I might miss some things, you now have AI that won't miss it, and it will bring it to the surface, subject to based on what triggering and rules and guidelines and things that you have. That then starts to give you business intelligence. Business intelligence being smart, doing the right things at the right time. not allowing critical events to pass, to slip through fingers, to drop the ball, and more importantly, the goals that you have, what's actually working, moving you towards what you want. AI can actually guide you and filter what matters today, and then you can take action or get AI agents to take action. From that point, you then go from a strategic level of fundamentally the goals, right? The goals that you have. Where do you want to be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? What's your finance goals in your business? What's your impact goals? What's your community goals? What's your client success goals? And all that comes then from the strategy level. So we're actually evolving, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. We're actually evolving from kind of human hierarchy to artificial hierarchy, where we're no longer in the traditional kind of human hierarchy where information flowed up and instructions flowed down. We're now going to be evolving into the new world where businesses are going to have a centralized intelligence, which is going to coordinate what is the most important things to actually move the business goals forward. That's a profound impact. And then when you've got the maturity of AI from tools to agents and then ecosystems where they're all connected to context, that is profound. And I'm already seeing those that I work with from an Atlas perspective, my Blackburn advisory perspective, we're already working on that intelligence. On my other YouTube channel, and I'll link it down below so you can just check out the playlist if you like, we're actually showing the build and the process of building our very own Iron Man's Jarvis at this moment in time. Ours is called Matter, and that is a centralized artificial intelligence which is connected to real-time data, context of what's happening on my YouTube channel, etc. Right? Connected to my calendar, meeting requests, emails. There's so many things it can do because it now has context, and that is really, really profound. So that's at this moment in time, I think that's going to change business as we know it, because businesses are going to be smarter. They're going to know exactly what to do, when to do it. They're going to have an AI executive team, or they're going to have executives, AI agents that can actually take care and support in these different functions and interact with one another and what feedback they're getting from the results of the actions that they're taking. It's really, really profound. And when that becomes in actual maturity reality, that's going to kind of push out businesses that are slow and traditional, if you like, and those that are smarter, faster, and with accuracy. They're going to be able to serve their clients, be better at their product launches, etc. Because the intelligence aspect of artificial intelligence is like the tools is like, if you imagine you've got like a spade and you need to dig a hole. And if I just said, here's a spade, here's your tool, go dig a hole. You could go dig a hole anywhere that you want. You could go outside in the garden and start digging a hole. But what if that hole's in the wrong place? You need to know the intelligence of exactly where the hole needs to be. And using artificial tools, without the intelligence aspect of it, you're going to be leaving some progress on the table. That's basically what I'm trying to say there. I'd love to know what your thoughts. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on that so far. So what's my thoughts for the founders and business owners today? So let's go starting a business to then those that have got businesses. So first of all, if you haven't got a business right now and you are actually a founder and you maybe watching this for the first time, Welcome to the Founders Bar podcast. We've got a number of episodes where you'll be able to learn about myself and Kylie and what we've done over the last 11 years. But now we're living in a world where you can build AI solutions for people's problems. That's what we do as business owners and entrepreneurs, right? We solve problems. If there's a pain, if we can provide value, if we can provide a solution, then we can build a tool around that, a service around that, a product around that. Think about it like value. Like the value equation is like how fast nowadays can you achieve a result. If somebody's got a pain that they want resolving, and if you can do that as quick as possible because people like speed and convenience, then that creates value. If you think of Amazon, the most convenient e-com provider in the world. If you order something right now, you can guarantee it's going to be there. It might be same day, the very next day, without fail. They're so accurate, and they're so hell-bent on making sure that you get what you've ordered on time. So what you can do now is there's many different businesses you could start, right? You could start I would look at from an AI perspective, because that is where the future's heading. I wouldn't forget about e-commerce, and I certainly won't forget about services, because services and e-commerce, I think they're always going to be there. I think there's a human aspect that's always going to be there. But in terms of the time to deploy something, to test, I think AI has to be used today in the current. You can start a brand, you can start an e-com brand, you can design a product, you can launch a product, but it's going to take a bit longer. I would still do that in the journey, right? But I would first start getting some type of cash flow in terms of your own business or something as a solution to begin with. Because now you can use tools like a Lovable, you can a vibe code, you can build something relatively quickly now in natural language. Then as time goes on, I would seriously look at the long-term value in terms of building brands, building a service, building something that has infrastructure, something that is valuable over the long term. For those that have businesses, my thoughts around this are, the first thing I would always do, and the first thing I'd recommend is look at all the activity that you're doing right now, what it's costing, and is there any AI tools or substitutions that you can do that can bring your costs down and speed up the output. That's the first thing. So you might be spending £1,000 on different variations of different tools, and you could half that cost if you just looked at the workflows and the tools. There's no doubt now you can build your own, or there's a tool out there already. That's the first thing. The second thing is, like I mentioned, I would start to introduce some form of intelligence understanding. What's happening, why it's happening, what matters today. Create events so you know what is actually occurring in your business, what your business is doing, how it's performing, what are the risks, what it's returning. All that can be done now by just having AI, like a second brain, a part of your business. It's really interesting. Really interesting. I mean, going through this sort of Jarvis stroke matter for Blackburn Advisory right now is really fascinating and interesting to see, because I'm already being able to understand more recommendations of what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what we should create, what we shouldn't create, and it's getting a result. I'm actually measuring in real time results, and to the point where I'll just quickly show this to you now. So I actually have I've got it on my laptop, but I've also got my Matter on my phone, right? So this is my version of Jarvis here, So I called him Matter because to me it's like what matters, and it's like the core, and it's space, and it's like the sun, and it's bringing all that information in. Now it works slightly different on my phone compared to the laptop, but what I can do is I can tap to activate. It's going to ask for my microphone. Hello Matter, how are you doing today, and how is the YouTube channel going? And he's listening. He's going to be thinking. And you can see I'm operating with high fidelity, Kev. And then the YouTube channel is maintaining steady pulse. Subscriber count is, I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see that or not, but it basically says subscriber count tells me they're 13,200 across 207 videos. It goes on a little bit further. Focus agent suggests a 90-minute deep work window aligning so you can capitalize on this momentum. Really, really fascinating, right? If I just clear that a second, you can see got inputs, outputs, really, really fascinating technology. So let me know your thoughts. I hope that is interesting. I think it's a really interesting topic. I think it's an important topic, something that I'd be fascinated to hear what Kylie's thoughts are on this going forward as well. We will be back next week, and we won't be in the Blackburn's bar. We're actually going to be out in Mallorca. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. We will make sure that there's the two of us. We're going to be probably on an outside bar this time. Let's go for a bit of a tour, shall we? So the Founders Bar podcast on tour. Cheers to another successful week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And as always, we look forward to seeing you next week on the Founders Bar podcast. Speak soon.